Hello everybody, it's John Johnston, Coronation, with a preview and a prediction for 2021 Nebraska, Iowa. Here it is, the last game of the season. Iowa comes into this game at 9-2. Nebraska comes in at 3-8. This has to be the weirdest college football game of the entire season. Iowa is not nearly as good as their record indicates, and Nebraska is not nearly as bad as theirs. And that's why you see a team that was 3-8 favored over a team that has done really well and is actually ranked going into this game. Notice I said going into this game. I guess that signifies that I have some hope. Okay, let's look at Iowa. They got a weak offense. I got notes here. 14th total offense. They are dead last in the Big Ten, 14th, and 124th nationally, which means, they're not just bad, they're freaking awful. They're at the bottom. And why is this? You got a fifth-year offensive coordinator in Brian Ferentz, Kirk Ferentz's son. Their quarterbacks are not very good. Tyler Goodson is a very good running back. Their offensive line isn't your typical Iowa offensive line that just bowls people over after a while. And quite frankly, their offense is sucky. Sucks. Scoring offense, 89th nationally, 10th in the Big Ten. They were doing it. I was going to leave the review of Iowa's season till the end of this, but let's go ahead and take care of that right now. They started out 6-0, ranked number 2. They beat two ranked teams at the beginning of the season. Indiana was ranked, and God, look at them now. They're just bloody awful. And they beat Penn State at home when Penn State, both teams were ranked in the top 10, so they got that big, huge ranking. Then they lost to Purdue 27-7, I think it was, and they could do nothing. And the problem with losing to Purdue was Iowa, up till that point, had feasted on turnovers quite heavily. And they didn't feast on turnovers against Purdue. So, Purdue whacked them pretty good, and they fell. Then Wisconsin, they scored 14 points total against Wisconsin and Purdue. And against Wisconsin, they didn't have a first down until the half. First half was almost over. They had 6 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and they had 24 rushing yards total for the game. And when you looked at what Nebraska did to Wisconsin's defense, I think you'd say, wow, we have a much better offense than Iowa, and that's correct. We do. They do have a good defense. They're 4th in the Big Ten in total defense. They're 13th nationally in total defense. And scoring defense, they're also 4th in the Big Ten, and they are 9th nationally. They've since dropped off a little bit. They've lost 2 good players on defense. But again, a good defense, still ranked 9-2, which is a pretty good season for Iowa, right? It's not like they have gobs of trophies in their trophy case, but not a bad season. Could be better, probably, if they actually had an offensive coordinator that had an offense and wasn't Kirk Ferentz's son. But did I go there? Yes, I did. This morning on Facebook, I saw somebody post in one of the Husker groups a comparison to Iowa. Some Iowa guy pointed out all the other coaches that other programs, blue blood programs, had, and how Iowa's only had Kirk Ferentz and how much better it's been for them. And I looked at that post and I thought, this is a really stupid fucking comparison to make a case for keeping Scott Frost, because like I said a bit ago, how many trophies does Iowa have in their trophy case since Kirk Ferentz has been head coach? For anything. Bowl games. But anything? Big Ten championships? National titles? The guy is the epitome of a guy who sticks around for a very long time, and everybody thinks they're good because of longevity. But Kirk Ferenz has been an above-average coach, not a great coach. He's been great because his longevity, and that's mostly because Iowa has a really stupid athletic director named Gary Farta, who is actually the college football playoff committee guy right now. This game is very interesting for Nebraska fans because of Logan Smothers. Adrian Martinez is out. He's not going to play in this game, and Logan Smothers is going to get his chance. So what are we going to see in this? That's the wild thing, isn't it? I mean, if he does well, we're going to look back on this season and think, boy, we could have won a lot more games if only Scott Frost had put Logan Smothers in at quarterback and not played Adrian Martinez all the time. And if he does poorly, then the people who are the Adrian Martinez supporters will, rub it in everyone's face that, yes, we lost because Adrian Martinez was the only thing keeping the team together, and he's the only reason we have such fabulous stats but nearly no wins. And then, we're going to be spending the rest of the offseason or the rest of our history as Nebraska fans poking each other in the eye about whether or not Adrian Martinez was the sole cause of this magnificently bad season. Maybe if we do that all offseason, we could just stop calling ourselves Husker Nation, or in my case, Corn Nation. We could just call ourselves Nanner Boo Boo Nation. Because that sometimes looks like what we've become. And I know that this is common through all fan bases. Anybody who has a fan base that cares about their football team is delusional and insane. So, stop whining about your own fan base, but at the same time, good God, let things go, will you? I'm interested to see how Logan Smothers does. And one thing, Kirk Ferentz presser, there was a quote from Kirk Ferentz presser this week that struck me. And he said, somebody asked him, did you find any film on Logan Smothers? And he said his guys went back to high school to find film on Logan Smothers to see what he was like. And he said, we have an idea of who he is and what he is, and he's fast. I know that. Can you think of a single Iowa quarterback over Kirk Ferentz's entire reign as head coach that wouldn't be described as plodding? If I was a quarterback on an opposing team, when Kirk Ferentz look at me at my age and go, well, he's fast, because what does Kirk Ferentz know about fast quarterbacks? I mean, a mobile quarterback in Iowa's offense under Kirk Ferentz at any time could be, known as a guy with 2 bricks tied to his leg. 2 big mortar bricks, not those little bricks. You know what I mean? He's fast. I hope Logan Smothers is really fast. Here's what I hope. I hope Logan Smothers goes out in this game and he finds Austin Allen. And Austin Allen breaks his own record, gets 3 TDs. And I don't expect Nebraska to beat up Iowa, but I do expect us to, score. I do expect us to do what we did against Wisconsin. I think Adrian Martinez did a good job of moving the ball down the field until we get to the red zone. And that's been our problem all along, is that we can't score in the red zone. The biggest thing that bothered me about Adrian was his inability to make passes in clutch situations like he was a first-time starter. And maybe we'll see that from Logan Smothers, where we need a 3rd and 4 picked up on the 20-yard line and he overthrows a guy. Or maybe he'll throw interceptions and Iowa will capitalize on those turnovers just like they did early in the season and become the gods of everything and crush us. And maybe Keith Duncan, who is no longer their field goal kicker, will magically show up for one more game and been given a reprieve by the NCAA and walk out on the field and kick a last-second field goal, because that's what Iowa does to us. Maybe Eric Shenander has learned his lesson at the end of this game and won't play the same frickin' defense he's played the last 2 years, so that Kirk Ferentz could go, hey, look, they're playing the same defense, let's run the same plays, where we get down the field and enable Keith Duncan to come back and kick the game-winning field goal. There's a whole gob of stuff about this game that could be fun, could be exciting. We'll probably lose by 1 score because that's who we are. And it's probably who we are with or without Adrian Martinez, because I don't know. Because you aren't good enough people, because you're sinners. That's why. Is that the reason? Could be. That's a crazy mixed up world. All right. I think that's it. What's going to happen in this game? You know what? I think Logan Smothers is going to go out and he's going to make good decisions because I want him to. Not because of anything I know about him. Spring game showed that he was Mr. Improv, and I expect him to improv pretty well. I hope he doesn't turn the ball over and just give Iowa free points because that would be disappointing. Special teams maybe could show up for one game. We could contain Tyler Goodson because other teams have, and keep Iowa's offense like under 14 points. Give them 7 points for a turnover. That gives them 21. Nebraska, on the other hand, Iowa has given up more points lately, and that's largely because of injuries on their defense. I'll say 24-21 Nebraska. Nebraska wins by 1 score because that's just how it should be. Good should triumph over evil. And Iowa is evil. Maybe if we don't triumph, it's a sign that the end times are upon us. Okay, that's good. You know, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're taking care of each other. Try not to do nanner, boo-boo too much, regardless of how the outcome of this game is. And love y'all. Thanks for supporting the channel. Tell your friends. Go Big Red.